Breaking a month-long streak of silence, President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu actually spoke on the phone today. That call coming as a divide between the two countries is definitely widening over the food crisis in Gaza and also Israel's conduct within this war. And it happened just hours after the IDF began what it calls a high-precision raid at one of Gaza's largest and most embattled hospitals. Hamas says as many as thousands of people rather, have been sheltering there in the Al-Shifa hospital, and they'll now be forced to move. Let's bring in our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, also senior White House correspondent, Selena Wang. So, Selena, we know that President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke on the phone today. Do we have any details about that conversation?
Well, Kira, the White House is saying that they spoke about the situation in Rafah and efforts to surge humanitarian aid into Gaza. And Kira, this is a big deal because it's the leader's first call in more than a month. And since that initial call more than a month ago, we've seen some of the president's private frustrations spill out into the public. When it comes to that planned Rafah invasion, we know the White House is deeply concerned about this. The president has even called it a red line. And U.S. officials say they still have not seen a plan for how they're going to execute this military operation while protecting civilians in Rafah. The president here, Kira, he's been trying to walk a very fine line, still adamant that Israel has a right to defend itself, but also putting some of his frustrations out in the open, even calling Israel's military operations over the top.
So, Matt, this is the second time the IDF has raided Al-Shifa Hospital. Why now?
You recall, Kira, that in the start of the war, Al-Shifa was one of the epicenters of this war. Israel said that this raid overnight, starting at 2 a.m., was to find and apprehend a group of senior Hamas leaders who had, again, regrouped inside that hospital, using the actual hospital itself as some sort of base. Israel went in what it called a high-precision operation, but it turned out to be a pretty significant gun battle, lots of small arms fire. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry said that rockets or some sort of missiles were fired into the complex, that there were small arms fire in operating rooms. Both Israelis were killed, Israeli soldiers, and there were casualties, many of them on the Palestinian side. And as you mentioned, there are thousands of Palestinians who've been seeking shelter in the hospital complex over the past weeks because it had become safe. No more. Israel says it's created some sort of humanitarian corridor to allow them to evacuate. It's unclear how many people are left there and how many people actually managed to get out, Kira.
So, Matt, there's now reports out there that famine in northern Gaza is imminent. So what's the latest on those, the aid that is supposed to be sailing in? Is there enough to help mitigate this crisis?
So there's a UN organization called IPC, and its job is essentially to determine whether or not famine has occurred in a specific area. And there are three major indicators. One of them is unclear at this point simply because officials from the UN do not have access to northern Gaza, where they believe the famine may have already started. They're just not sure. There are about 300,000 people in that northern Gaza sector, and it is believed that they are suffering not just acute hunger, but acute malnutrition on a very significant scale. So there's actually a chance that it may have already started. The rest of Gaza is facing severe hunger. As for the aid, again, Israel has provided air corridors, so we've seen those airdrops. There are now a number of sea corridors that are opening up or are starting to open up. And, of course, they've opened up some more areas on the land routes in. But it's not only not enough, but the UN at this point is unable to distribute the aid because of security concerns and get it to the places that it's needed. And whatever's flowing in now, and we understand it's more than it was, it's still not nearly enough to ameliorate all that hunger that we're seeing in Gaza. Kira.
Well, we'll continue talking about it. Matt, thank you. Selena, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.